Hello people, today I'm going to be doing a review of Bullet Train. I saw the trailer to this movie a million times, so has everyone else. And so, even though I've seen the trailer so many times, I was still actually quite excited to see this movie. I like what David Lynch did with Deadpool 2, and I know he's quite a good stunt coordinator, so I was very excited to see what we can do with a Bullet Train action film. And this movie didn't disappoint me. I quite enjoyed it from beginning to end. We have Brad Pitt in the lead, and he did a great job. And Taylor Johnson in a huge supporting cast, and a couple of surprise cameos that I quite enjoyed. And the whole cast was great. And while I think this movie has way too many characters, every single actor tried, they did their best, and brought a lot of life to this movie. And what also brought a lot of life to this movie is David Lynch. The way this movie looks, it looks great. I was watching it, I saw this movie in Dolby, and I looked at it, I was like, I cannot wait to get this disc on 4K. I cannot wait to get this movie on disc, because this movie just looks really good. Close-ups of each face, you can see everything. You can just see their face, if that makes sense. You can see every little detail. It's just a really good presentation of a film. This is a long bullet train, so we have like many different colors, and like as you see right here, this film has quite an amount of color for a movie that takes place on a bullet train. And there's always some visual flair going on, and so you have a lot of style. And with these action sequences, while I don't think it was as good as the action was as good as it could have been, it was still great action. And with great action, with a nice visual flair, it just makes me happy. It's that sweet spot for me where I just look at it and I think, I like movies, I do think when it comes to the fact that this is like the studio for making great action sequences, this was just okay action for a studio that would specialize in action, but compared to the average action film, this is still way above standard. Because there's a lot of sequences in this movie where like the audience reacted to things that happen in the action sequences. And so for this movie to be as comedy heavy as it is, and to still have that reaction from an action sequence, is quite something to be proud of. Because a prime example of that is, you don't get that is in like a Marvel film. You have action sequences and you have comedy. You have audience laugh at the comedy, but action sequences, you don't really have the audience going, oh crap. Maybe sometimes in like No Way Home, in the third act with the face-off between Goblin and Spider-Man. But what I'm saying is that this movie really found a good blend of having an audience reaction with action and comedy. At the beginning of the comedy, it worked for me about 75% of the time. About 25% felt like a Deadpool movie to me, where I know it's the same, this guy directed Deadpool 2, but I don't know if he wrote it or what has to do with it. But there's a couple of lines that had me go, that just feels like something Deadpool would say. That, it works for Deadpool because he is supposed to be annoying, but annoying in a lovable way. But these people, they're not Deadpool, they're just humans, and so it didn't convey the way I think they wanted it to sometimes. But that's just about 25% of the comedy, because about most of this comedy really landed, and there's a lot of like visual comedy and not necessarily jokes that were sold really, really well. And like I said, these characters and the actors really brought a lot of levity to this movie. In fact, they bring so much levity to it when it comes down to like things that could be character moments. I found myself actually asking for maybe a little bit of character from this, or like emotion from this one scene, rather they played something a little bit for a joke. And I remember the one time it did happen, I thought to myself, well, in any other movie this would be a side character and I'd be fine with them just joking around. But at the same time, the actors really did that good of a job, like all around, where I was like, oh, I actually kind of feel bad, or like, hey, that sucks. But yeah, like, I'm just so happy that I saw a movie with good cinematography and some really fun action. This movie isn't perfect. It's overstuffed. It's about 30 minutes too long. The plot's a little too convoluted. There's one or two too many characters. They introduce a character, they give you a whole backstory, and then they either kill them or they're gone, and you wonder what's the point of that. But I want to be honest, I was entertained through all of it. There's many scenes that once it was done, I was like, what's the point of that? But then I said, I don't care. I had so much fun with it anyway. So, well, if I'm going to go into this movie thinking to myself, what's the message and what's the cinematic statement they're trying to make, I find myself frustrated. But I turned my brain off and I had like a really, really fun time just watching Brad Pitt and this huge cast just have a really good time on this bullet train. Because, yeah, like, it's an audience movie. I think the audience is going to respond really strong to this. I know the critics' response wasn't that good, which actually does surprise me. I was expecting to see, once the movie was done, I was like, yeah, I would expect this to have like a upper 60s, low 70s score, but no, it's at like a 55 as of now. But I hope maybe it trickles up a little bit because I didn't think the movie was bad. I mean, it's a good action film. That's the way I think of it. Is it a good film? It varies from person to person. I like a good action film, so I'm happy. But if action's not your genre, and you go into a movie expecting a good story, this movie might not be for you. Because while I see what the story is going for, I kind of appreciate elements of it. I appreciate what they were going for and like the way they told the story. Most of the time, I don't care for how a movie juggles you around. I didn't care for how Deadpool did it. I don't really care for how a lot of movies kind of like jerk you around, or I didn't like it in Birds of Prey. This movie actually did it pretty well where it didn't annoy me as much, maybe because I wasn't expecting it, but I really was fine with how I was jerked around. But there's a lot of parts where I was like, was that necessary though? But at least like I said, I was entertained. Like, entertained this might be one of the most entertaining movies of the year. Is it the best movie of the year? God no. Is it the worst movie of the year? God no. And it, like, overall as a film, if you had to ask me, it was good. You know, it wasn't great. It definitely wasn't great. But at the end of the day, you have to just go in with the expectations. If you want to have a fun time, watch an action movie, turn your brain off, laugh at it, how over the top it is, you'll have a lot of fun. And this movie like reached a level of over the topness, but it was so on the nose, it was like stylistic, and it actually really, really worked. And that's exactly what I wanted. Over the top, stylistic, colorful, action, fun, cast, having a fun time. It's what I got. So yeah, I'm gonna give Bullet Train a 7.8 out of 10. Comment down below what you guys thought of Bullet Train, if you checked it out this weekend or if you will be checking it out. And tell me, do you disagree with me? Do you think this movie is crap? Or did you have fun with it like me? Or even more, you thought it was amazing? So yeah, like, share, subscribe, and stuff like that. And adios.